Witam Państwa serdecznie, Błażej Hrabkowicz, 29. edycja Międzynarodowego Festiwalu Filmowego Energa Camera Image w Toruniu. With us the director, Shannon Murphy. Hello, Shannon.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm great.
Having a good time?
I'm having the best time at this festival.
You're beaming. Your smile says it all.
I know. It's just been such a joy to see so many things and in so many great venues, and yeah, just be able to kind of celebrate cinematography, really.
Yeah, and this is something that, well, I think you celebrate sort of visual images and cinematography in your movies, because when I was watching Baby Teeth, which I really like, more than liked, this is a film that really struck me as a film in which there was a very large amount of attention given to the visual side of the film, the way the film is edited, the way the film is shot and lit. So the visual storytelling in this film was astonishing for me. So I want to talk to you about a bit about that. What was the concept behind the visual concept to tell this story?
Yeah, I think for me, I always start with tone, because I love to pick projects where the tone is unusual or quite challenging to achieve. And with Baby Teeth, of course, because it's a tragedy, but it's got an incredible sense of black humor in it, which is what makes it so, I think, believable and realistic in many ways. And it's very Australian, that sense of humor. And so we started with that, and Andy Commas, my cinematographer, is somebody I had wanted to work with forever. He did a beautiful film set in Laos called The Rocket, which I'd seen and loved so much. So when he agreed to do this with me, we sat down and talked about how do we capture the tone in every frame. So a very funny scene would still have to have an element of tragedy in it, or vice versa. And whether that was through color or costuming or the way that, we framed, we were thinking about that always. And that's also why we used old Baltar lenses, because we wanted there to be bright colors in the design and the costuming, but then a real sort of deeper look that was more, brought out the characters and the warmth and the depth of it through those older lenses. So it was the mix of the two, I think.
Yeah, this is, when I watched it and I went out of cinema, and I immediately thought to myself, this is a kind of sort of a mini symphony of color, image, sound, and music. And what the most important things in that story I thought were conveyed to me as an audience member through that. And I thought that this was because this is a story which has been told a few times before, but I think the way you told it, it was something new for me, in terms of this, this visual thinking behind it.
Yeah, and I was thinking about those films that you're talking about that have covered this kind of story before. And I thought so often, there's this sort of very soft approach to that age group. And when they're sort of facing death, teenagers, there's sort of a sense of being a bit too reverent around a young person dying, and also capturing their experience in a more sort of like beautiful way, rather than it being more kind of vivid. And for me, Miller's world was quite colorful and alive, but it was also constantly shifting, because at that age group, every day you've got a different thing that you want to wear, or a different piece of music that you like.
You go, and mood-wise, you go from one extreme to another. Yeah.
Exactly, and that kind of flow is what we were trying to capture. That's why we went with the wigs and the different color wigs. Like all the time you're like, who is she? And the audience are catching up constantly with that. And of course, Moses completely then changes her perspective on the world too. And she starts to morph more into his look and color palette. And it was just really fun to play with all of that throughout it. But also, like you're saying, the music, there was so many different worlds of music, the classical world of her mother, the world music that she was exposed to through Gidon, and then also what she was starting to like herself. And all of it is, embedded in her character in many ways. But yeah, the shape-shifting was the biggest challenge with her, and how we did that visually, because I thought, gosh, is she just going to look like so many different girls or feel like so many different people? But luckily it didn't. And that's a big credit to Eliza Scanlon.
Yeah, she's great.
She's so strong and grounded and confident in her performance.
Yeah, and the fact that it is a film about finality, because it is a film about death. I mean, very very soon we realize that she's going to die, and sooner than later. And I also love the way that you portrayed parents, and because you portrayed them not only as parents, but as the people who are trying to deal with this situation, and who do things that you sometimes can take you can be taken aback a bit by what they do, but you understand it at the same time. Fantastic actors playing the parents. So the whole family dynamic is so unusual and usual at the same time, I thought.
Yeah, I think so many of us do come from dysfunctional families, and no matter how crazy or difficult your parents are, you love them and they're your primary connection in the world. And so I wanted to portray them in a way where you could still understand the incredible love that Mila has for these two people, despite the fact that so often she is like the only adult in the room, That
is true.
So, and also, I think so many times when you're at family gatherings, stuff happens and you're like, if I put that on the screen, let alone on like a theater stage, people would go, that's ridiculous. But you're like, it just happened in my home, So I think it's really
immediately some of the images and situations from my own family gatherings ran through my head.
Yeah,
nobody would believe it.
And you just can't be shy about that stuff. I think the whole point of making film is to highlight those sort of extraordinary or difficult moments that you do experience, and everybody being able to kind of grasp on and go, oh, I know a version of that. And also to really understand the depths of their pain and how they're coping with it. And so much of their behavior is all, embedded in how they're dealing with their struggles. They're in pre-grief, like they know she's going to die.
Yeah, sure.
So how do you continue living? It's psychologically, that's what it's called, pre-grief, where you're already in a state of mourning before the person's even gone.
Yeah, but at the same time, you try to grasp whatever is left.
Yeah.
In terms of life with this person, moments spent with this person.
Yeah.
And I think this is also the great thing about the film, that it tells a story about, yes, dying, but also this. The beauty of living, and this really very paradoxical state of being in pre-grief, but also being happy that someone is still with us.
Totally, and also giving respect to that age group dying, because like I said, it's really hard for people to accept younger people passing away. Even the medical staff don't want to deal with that. Like that, it's very stressful. So they will still prescribe medicine for a very long time when they should stop. And so it's about her being able to say, I don't want the version of death that everybody else is telling me. I want to take control over it myself. And I think that's what I loved about the film, that it gave a voice to young people in that situation as well.
I have no control over whether I'm going to die or not, but I have control over how.
Yeah.
I'm going to spend the last days, weeks of my life, and how I'm going to go.
And she wants to feel everything. She doesn't want to be over-medicated and out of it. Everybody else in her life is.
Yeah, that's true. Also, interesting choice. You made an interesting choice about how to portray the moment she goes, she passes. And I want to talk to you about that, because it's a really beautiful scene in which when Moses enters the room with her parents, and her father knows, you can see it in his face. He knows, and the mother is like in a denial. And so, because you could have shot it in a million different ways. So why did you decide to do it like that?
Well, there are very clever actors, Essie and Ben, and I think when you have such experienced people, it's really important to give them a scenario where they can genuinely just respond and not be doing all the things that they know how to do so well, their acting techniques. So what I said to them was I was going to set up 2 cameras in each room. So there's one hidden in the closet in Mila's bedroom. And I said to Ben, I'm not going to tell you where the camera is, just come in the room and experience what you're experiencing. and take your time, and then in real time come out into the room when you're ready to face Anna. And I think the fact that they knew that they could just play it out, but also the fact that they could hear each other and how they were mourning in the other rooms made a big difference. And it was a really powerful scene to shoot on the day, you know, just letting everyone really sit in the believability of what they were doing. You know, yes, for me, it's also about not seeing what exactly someone is thinking. When we're on the back of Ben, you know in the moment, just when, like you're saying, Moses looks over and the way that he's smoking and the way that the curtain's blowing, like you just go, this
immediately
is it.
Knows, yeah.
And that's all it takes, you know. And then hearing Essie's wailing was so distressing that even actually Eliza, she was in the bed and I didn't let them see her all day, and I put makeup on her like she had been dead for a few hours, even though I knew I would never show it, but it's just so that they could see that. And it was actually very distressing for Eliza. I remember after the take, we came in and she was very upset because to hear them was kind of, very moving.
Yeah. It's a very moving film, and I am so glad that we got this opportunity to talk to you about it. So thank you, Shannon.
Thanks so much.
And it's nice having you here in Torun. Enjoy the rest of the festival.
I hope I come back.
Yeah, we hope so too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dziękujemy.